Welcome to Draw Process. I'm Ike. I'm a comic book artist, and here I share my practice, my techniques, and my process in trying to become the best version of myself as a sequential storyteller and an artist. So I'll draw the latest page of my comic First Sun and Sword. Today it's page 39. Here's the thumbnail. The top left, that is a layout for the actual panels. And then what this page is it's full of sketches that compose each panel. Rather than erasing and trying to arrange these correctly, I just wanted to do some sketches. I tend to like drawing it more this size, just because that's the size I'm used to. So Sword comes up out of the water. Sun's reaction. Here he is giving a little speech. King Croc reacts, and then we see the Dragoness's reaction. The little monologues before the fight. This is a big moment for Sword. It was I had to revisit the script and think about this one, and read everything up to this point and make sure that once I type it on the page, put in the lettering, that I've made my final choice, and that I'm happy with it. And it's a difficult moment to capture. He is expressing this willingness to die. He's really facing the challenge, facing his destiny in some way. But this is not this is an ongoing series, and he is not fully accepting his destiny. He's not fully accepting the responsibility of taking care of Sun. So to try to capture the right mix of his commitment and, overcoming and embracing his destiny, the right mix of that, and that fits the moment, feels like he's really resolving some of the tension that's been building throughout this episode, but without, resolving everything. So, and being true to who he is, because he has reservations, and he doesn't take his life, he doesn't throw his life away, and he doesn't fight typically when he can't win. So it really goes into his mindset, mentality, his philosophy, and who he is, which is going to come at odds with the events, the destiny that's before him throughout the series. So it was an interesting thing to try to capture, and to try to capture also how is Sun reacting, what expression should he have, how injured should he appear to be after being bitten, and then the Dragoness, what's her reaction? Because she has a whole lot of complex feelings at the moment, some of which are clear in the story, and some of which will become more clear as the story finishes up, and in the upcoming issues after this one, when her background with Sword becomes more clear. Writing is a big part of what I do. The story is not just a passion project or a story that I've got to get off my chest and that's it, or an excuse to draw a comic where I don't really care what the story is. I just need to complete this procedure so that I can draw a comic. That, to me, the writing is something I'm working at, just like I work at the art, to get better at telling stories and telling better stories. Now, I probably spend less time on working on that craft, but it is an important part of it. And then there's the sequential storytelling, and there's the draftsmanship, or the art itself, which I do work on extensively, the art. I slowly work on the sequential storytelling. I think part of that is because it arises organically as I continue to drop pages and look at them and figure out, and look at finished comics too that I've done, and other people's comics, and figure out more and more how to get better at it, like what helps it flow better and communicate better. But yeah, the story, just telling good stories itself is something I want to continue to improve at. I've opted for now doing a little bit of studying on storytelling, writing, but I try to keep it really organic. The story isn't finalized until the last minute, when it's already colored and drawn and everything. The dialogue anyways isn't finalized till that point. And I allow the characters to keep developing in my mind until I have to, put down into words what they do. So I actually think this will lend itself to better writing. Now, it could also end up in failures, right? So you have to be willing to fail to do it in this way, where you allow it to just develop. But if you already know exactly what you're going to write and exactly what the characters are saying, or what they're about, what their conflicts are and everything, I'm not sure that's the best writing, because it's less honest. You're not working through your feelings and your conflicts about things. To, I don't know, wrestle with the story. And I think that would make a better story. Great stories instead of just okay stories, but also failures too. You'll fail some because you can write yourself into a corner and be like, oh crap, I don't know what to do next. But, and if I were writing a novel, I would understand, like, maybe I could adopt this process and do lots of drafts and edits and then refine it into something really nice. But for me, I don't like doing that without drawing the page. Like, I don't know how to fully refine who these characters are and get it all perfect, what they're going to say, if I haven't even seen them yet. If I haven't seen how they acted the scene out and everything. So I don't think I could fully refine that before actually drawing the comic. So I don't know. That seems to be the way I'm doing it for now. And we'll see if that changes. There's always been a little bit of that in how I've done it. And sometimes I have a little bit more solid script or not. But it's always kind of been a similar way of doing it. I would say something that is newer for me now is that I do work at keeping the characters alive and thinking about the story more as I complete it. There have been times I would have the script and I would kind of copy the script. And I would still make little edits, but I just don't think I was putting as much thought into the characters and how things went after I had the finished script. So I'm probably doing more of it than I used to. Anyways, that's a bit about how I deal with writing. So now the good stuff, right? I think I don't even know how to say it, but I want to talk about thoughts I've been having about, maybe it's more mindset stuff. I want to become my own kind of storyteller, my own kind of artist. I work on studying anatomy and drawing, but at this point, for quite a while now, I noticed this for several years, I have not really studied how other people render, ink, simplify into line work, the human form. I don't really look at what other people do anymore. And I really just look at actual human forms in photographs typically. or or work on my own illustration, drawing from imagination. Excuse me. But that's part of this effort to become my own kind of artist, to see what's in there, like how it wants to develop, how it can develop in me. I like a lot of artists that have an older style, a more classic style, or that they've been in the industry a long time, let's say. I like how they do things, but the best years are not behind us. This is what I think. The best visual storytelling from humans, not AI, I think it's yet to come. That I am an early generation or a middle generation between older ways of doing things and the future. That I'm just in the middle somewhere. And I owe it to the people after me to develop my own way of doing it, to provide that example. Not only the example of how to do your own style, but also, an example of my style, the style that I come up with, so that it adds to the dialogue, it adds to the story, the knowledge base. That's the journey. That's what really motivates me on a more deeper level. Is I get to participate in this really big picture. And not compare myself to other people or judge my success or something against any other sort of measurement of success. Because I'm clear on my goal. I'm clear on what matters here and how I'm going to judge my success or not, which is, am I becoming a more authentic storyteller? Whenever I have a time crunch and I'm trying to be more efficient, that puts limitations on what I do that can sort of result in a little more authenticity. You have to go with your flow in some way to get it done. Sometimes that can work. And sometimes when an artist has a really kind of well-refined, consistent, traditional style in some way, or even just of their own, but I can really appreciate that and value that, but even that is kind of a stand-in for this authenticity that you don't know necessarily that they're being authentic when they do it that way, or if they are trying to, I don't know, follow someone else's lead. But it might appear that through that, the appearance of consistency in their line work and style and stuff, it may appear that, okay, here's someone who's, gone through it. They did the inner work to get refined. That's not always true. So you can't compare yourself to others off of that. The real thing I'm after is the authenticity. I was recently compared to a few other, two different artists that are very different, and it was you're somewhere in between them. You're sort of a mix of this and that pole of type of artist or something, and it was interesting to hear, but it was I felt like that was okay. That's good. That's a sign that I'm. They're maybe seeing that I a conflict in myself between two poles. And that's cool because it's not that they're looking and seeing, here's a completely refined, finished, done thing. Like the complete, no, never going to get better. It doesn't need to get better. It's just done. Instead of seeing that, they're seeing, okay, conflict, tension between things, different styles and approaches. And to me, that's a sign that I'm growing. And I don't know that they meant it that way. They may have just meant I'm literally in the middle, somewhere in the middle between these two. But the way I saw it was, I have a tension in me between these poles. It's not just I'm somewhere in the middle. I get pulled one way sometimes. I get pulled the other way sometimes. And that means I'm alive. It means the art's not always consistent. But it means I'm alive and I'm developing, and that's the goal. Is by developing, I'm in the process of creating, and that's what matters. Not arriving at a certain complete quality, finality. That's not important. Because when I look at everything that's been done before and is final, I don't really care for it. And in some sense, I respect my elders and stuff, but, okay, it's done. Like, what's next? Like, let's not just dwell on the past and think this is the best it's ever going to get. Like, what'll be next? That's what I like. And that's what I'm motivated by and pursuing. So, I'm continuing this attempt and struggle. We could even say, I don't like to use that word because I find my practice it's not all about like fighting and struggle. It's not like uber macho, pump out those reps. It's not like that. Like that harsh, I don't know, rep and discipline oriented thinking doesn't always produce better work. It doesn't always develop me better because I end up becoming more harsh, like more crystallized, hardened. And in what lines I put down and in what I'm trying to do, harder on like trying to be more perfect or something. That doesn't always make better work. It just doesn't work. It's not just that I don't want to be like that. It's that it actually doesn't work for where I'm trying to get. So sort of the old adage, trust the process. And I do feel I have been. This has been so great since I started making these videos in November is when I started this comic, and I have been held accountable and sticking to a regular completion of at least one page a week and doing sketchbook work and anatomy work and things like that. And I have never seen this much growth and this much speed of growth in myself in the 8+ years that I've been doing this, and it's definitely not easy. This is not an easy endeavor, but especially not when it's so isolated. Like, there's so much to figure out about yourself, your embarrassment and shame and ego, and ability to stay focused on goals, and struggle with lack of feedback and not knowing what people are thinking about your work, or how to ask for good feedback if you even want to hear it. But there's just a lack of mentors even. It is. I love those little moments of mentorship I get when I see older, more established artists, maybe at a convention, and they can help me some. I cherish those moments, but those are just moments, and I think for most people, those may have never happened, or it's just rare to get to have a mentor, like people you can really talk to about the struggle that you're having and the challenges, and that can help point you towards success in a direction that you can feel like leads to success. And I think I'm becoming one of those people, honestly, as especially as time goes on. I think that's really kind of my goal. I want to be, in 10 years, let's say, I'd like to be someone that can be looked up to, and that can provide guidance on the complexity of this journey, without just telling people, well, here's the way to do it, because obviously that there's no such thing. And I really do think that. I think there is no such thing as the right way to do this, because like I've said, we are in between what's been done in the past and what can be done, what's yet to be done. And can we believe that? Can we believe that this art form has yet to become what it can? That the best isn't behind us, and it isn't already a fully established means of expression, there's only one way to do it. No, like it isn't final yet. If it was, then maybe I should consider quitting, because what's the point? But it's not. Even the way it looks, the way it communicates, everything, it is not done yet. And I don't mean that it'll end up, in VR and like new technology. I mean, like literally in the format that it's in. It is not even final yet. That's very encouraging, and it's very relieving that you don't have to do it like the past. And it means you can't be judged. You're free to go on the journey. And if you fail, so what? Everyone fails. Like, of course you're likely to fail. It's there's no telling what part of the story you'll fit in, as it isn't written yet. But yeah, what else is there to do? That sounds quite fun to me. I like this panel, the croc up in the left, jaws open, and then him on the right. There's going to be a word balloon right there in between them. Yeah, I like finding comic art and stories that are unlike anything else I've seen before. I love finding that, and it's always encouraging to see, like, oh, there's some other way that's possible that I hadn't known of. It's very encouraging that there's still a lot more that's possible. There's so many. Jesse Lonergan, if I'm saying that right, has some very interesting comics with and panel composition choices. There's this book that I got. I get a lot from manga. What is it? FLCL. Art by, and I'm gonna butcher this, Hajime Ueda. It is just so wild. Very geometric outlines on figures. Sometimes not even a full figure drawn, just a few lines for certain features, and a lot of the lines are kind of rough and almost look like they were done with a mouse. Fine and rough and layered, and it's just so strange. But it's great to see these possibilities. Jeff Lemire, like, I think that's someone who draws his own way. He didn't try to make it look a lot like, I don't think that he was trying to just look like the way it was supposed to look. That he was using drawing comics to express himself and saw the art as a way to just be expressive, and it definitely looks like his own way of drawing. Matt Kint. Mike Mignola, of course, but I think, like, with so many people, it's almost like the people that I don't want to speak for them because I don't know them, but this may not be true, but the people that can't draw like, let's say, Jim Lee, but the people that can't draw like that, they're just unable to do it the way they think it has to be done. They end up inventing new ways of doing it. Which is great. I think that's awesome. I think there's some odd truth in there, and maybe I'm one of those people that I never found it fulfilling or super comfortable with certain established ways it's supposed to look. So I come up with my own, and thank God for those people, so that we can get some innovation. And outsiders in comics, and I think I would consider myself one because that wasn't my initial background. And I'm a therapist, and I did sound design and music, and studied film. That was my background before I got into comics. Sometimes it's good to be an outsider. Like right now, it might feel like, well, you're having less success than someone that, focused on it since they were a teenager, went to school for this, whatever, so they're like somehow in and ahead of you, but not necessarily. You might be the one that's ahead because you have your own unique perspective. I guess a reason to not compare yourself to others. The Scott Pilgrim book, that's an interesting way that comics can look. Some of the more, teen, female audience oriented manga that I've seen, I don't know what you call those. There's this one called Orange that I got, because it just looked like interesting, lots of dialogue with the nuances of emotion and the word balloons guiding your eye across the page. And I don't think, to me, the drawings and the composition is not that great, and it wouldn't be my style, the style I would prefer, perhaps, but it's effective because of that. Yeah. Anyways, it's always fun to see what's possible, to just inspire some hope that things are still possible, and so much is still possible for you, for me. Like, even if you aren't that if you struggle to draw, if you don't feel you're that good or whatever, you're late to the game, whatever, there's so much that's still possible. I've read books that I could suspect they were drawn, you could say worse than me, or that they couldn't draw as well as me. They're better books than my books to me. It almost doesn't matter like how good of an artist the person is. In terms of good, authentic storytelling. So, yeah, so much is possible. And sometimes thinking you're really good at drawing is just going to get in the way. Like I was saying, if you can draw like what you think the right way is, and you just, copy that, you might actually fall behind other people. It might be a worse choice. It might hinder you. It might hold you back from becoming the artist that you could become. Yeah, I guess a case not to envy others that might have it easier. And maybe it's good to have it hard. Even the lack of success. I mean, if I started having like commercial success in my books early on, it's very possible that my development would have gone down a different path. I think by not being able to rest on my laurels and feel like I really arrived or something, I have allowed myself to continue to morph and change and not care what people think about the morphing and changing, because I never felt it was done so publicly, because I didn't have an audience really. So I could experiment and I could allow myself to morph and change based on what I want it to look like, and telling my own stories instead of the stories someone dictates to me meant that I get to figure out how to tell stories better and write better and what I like to draw and how I can communicate it. I don't know, the idea that comics will kill you, that it's just suffering to draw comics. Now, I'm not doing it 12 hours a day every day. I understand when people say that's killing him, because that sounds deadly. But I actually enjoy like drawing pages. I love it. I don't just enjoy the writing or the coloring. I enjoy drawing them and inking them, because by not being successful and not having to do it, I only do it because I want to. So I've worked on and further worked on how to make it more enjoyable, to make sure that I'm doing things I enjoy. So I don't use a ruler to do perspective. I don't rotate the page. I lay it flat, and I keep my hand flat. And if I need to make a line in whatever angle or direction, I just make the line in that direction with my hand, and it'll turn out a little less perfect. I live with it. I make it part of the style, because those, that makes it more enjoyable for me. And here is the finished page. What a rant for today. The finished page. Here's the lower part. Things are about to really get going. Kind of a strange fight to try to capture, though, a large croc with a man. The physics of the fight and camera to capture such a large creature. It'll be kind of interesting to capture. All right. Well, thank you for watching and listening. If you're sticking through all of these, that's awesome. I really do my best to, not only use this as, a journal, a diary where I just, state my thoughts without thinking about them. Like, I'm trying to speak with as much truth and encouragement and goodness, that I can. Doing my best to be of use to you, those of you that actually listen to these in full. All right, take care. See you next week.